Okay, so there are these laptops out there that are really good, like really, really good, but they're not particularly well known. Like these are devices that will be recommended by laptop enthusiasts. And if you visit my Discord, the sweaty laptop nerds there will often recommend these devices. And if you hop into Reddit and you hop into like a laptop focused subreddit, again, these devices will pop up and just be aggressively recommended. And the reason why they're so popular amongst the enthusiasts of this laptop world is because they have very good performance for the money, like incredibly good performance for the money, especially when you compare it to the major kind of name brands out there. But the reason why they're not well known and the reason why so few people use them is because they don't market. They just really don't spend their dollars, their revenue on marketing, at least not to the degree that a lot of the major brands out there do. Like if you look at Acer, Asus, Razer, MSI, Alienware, like you recognize all those brands because you see them everywhere. They're plastered all over your Twitch streams. They're plastered over esports events. Like you recognize those names. These are made by a company called Tongfeng. It's made by one company and it's distributed or sold through multiple vendors around the world. And you might recognize some of them. If you're in the States, you might recognize Electronics or Main Gear or Origin. In Europe, they got XMG, and in Asia, they got a whole bunch of kind of boutique resellers that resell these Tongfeng devices. So in this video, I will talk about what makes them good, what makes them so special, what makes them so attractive to the laptop enthusiast, but I also want to talk about why I don't use one. I mean, if they're so good, right? Why don't I use one? And it's not some like weird twisted reason. It's particular to me, but we'll get into it. Now, let's talk about performance first, because that is what makes these things so special. The reason why they have such good performance is because these companies, or the one company, Tongfeng, they cool their chips very aggressively. Like we're talking vents everywhere, back, side, bottom, lots of vents, and they have fast fans to push a lot of air through these laptops. And all this cooling potential allows these devices to have higher clock speeds and sometimes even faster GPUs. So these laptops tend to benchmark really well, especially if you configure them with AMD's Ryzen chips. And if you're an owner of one of these laptops, if you're a member of this secret laptop club, you will have one of the best performing devices on the market. And there's other benefits. They tend to have big batteries. Like for the size of the laptop, these guys will pack in like 90, 95 watt hour batteries in there. They're big, like near the upper limit of what you're even allowed to put into a laptop that goes on a plane. And it provides pretty decent battery life, right? It's going to be a gaming laptop. You're not going to get 10 hours on a charge, but these tend to have bigger batteries than a lot of the name brand competitors out there. And then if you do need to charge it up, you plug it up in the back, which is something I always like. The AC adapter goes in the back and just keeps your workspace on the left and right of the laptop clear. There's other stuff, like they don't have bloatware on these devices and they're easy to open up so you can repair or replace as you need. And they're also very often quite customizable, like not just like the CPU and RAM choice, but you can get like different types of thermal paste. Again, these are all things that enthusiasts care about and enthusiasts would appreciate, and they still charge a reasonable price for their laptops. But I want to move this conversation over to the topic of why I personally don't use one of these devices. And it boils down to that performance difference I was talking about. So yes, these have better performance than some of the name brand stuff out there. But that extra performance comes at a cost. Number one, fan noise tends to be loud. You can control it in software, but when I'm playing games or if I'm editing videos, I can't use my regular earbuds or the built-in speakers. It needs to have an enclosed headset to block out fan noise. And secondly, it forces the design aesthetic to be this kind of perforated block of laptop. It's not the worst thing in the world, right? There's definitely uglier devices out there, but you compare something like a Razer Blade to this, like one looks like they had aesthetics in mind and one doesn't. Now, louder fan noise and a less attractive design would be a pretty good trade-off if the extra performance was significant. But if I look at my real-world usage, the difference between a Razer Blade, like a relatively slower clocked system, compared to the faster electronics device, the difference is noticeable, but it's not substantial, right? We're talking a few seconds of render time and a few frames in games. It really isn't worth it to me just to switch over to these devices for that extra benchmark performance. The other thing is the keyboard. There are two main keyboard variants with the Tongfeng chassis. The first one is this one here. It's got this single rectangular cutout for the keyboard, right? And I think it helps to keep the manufacturing cost down because they have to just mill out one big rectangle instead of lots of little squares. It's just less machine time. But this keyboard is incredibly hard for me to get used to. Even after months of using it, I still find that I make a lot of typos and frequently have accidental key presses when I'm in games. Now, this keyboard is shared amongst several of these devices. They do have an alternate type, an individually cut out chiclet style. Some of these XMG devices here have it. These are better to me than the first type, but they're still not great. They feel stiff and weirdly unresponsive when I'm typing on it. And I get it. I am very particular and picky about my laptop keyboards, but it's important to me because I don't use external keyboards. And a keyboard that I personally dislike is kind of a deal breaker for me when it comes to choosing these laptops. And the design aesthetic as well as the louder fans don't really help. But my overall take on the Tongfeng family of laptops is that they're really good. In terms of performance for the money, they are almost impossible to beat, but they're not for everyone, right? Oftentimes when you hop into a subreddit or a Discord channel of some sort, you're gonna get shoved right down your throat by Tongfeng. It's the best. It's the best. Why would you buy anything else? It comes from a good place, right? Those guys are enthusiasts and they want you to get what they like, but what they like doesn't necessarily align with what you need, right? So just don't be swayed by the sweat. Okay, in terms of brands, I like electronics. I think they do it the best in North America. I also like XMG a lot. They're in Europe. Asian brands, I have no idea. I've been sent a few, but I don't know the pricing after the exchange rate. But in North America, the two other brands I would say don't do it as good as electronics. So Origin and Main Gear, their stuff tends to be a little bit cheaper, but yeah, software is better. Particularly the BIOS is better with the electronics. And XMG, I think these two companies, I'm not sure, but I think they communicate and share BIOS stuff. And that does make a difference when it comes to performance tweaks and stuff. Okay, that's the video on the Secret Laptop Club. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thumbs if you liked it, subs if you loved it. See you guys next time.